Here we go. Starting, and I'm going to go ahead and share with you. Let me go ahead and start. This is the WB Green Junior High Zoom parent meeting, this instructional and safety information that we want to share with you. So once again, I want to thank everybody who has joined my meeting this morning so that we can go ahead and get information out to our parents. Now, once again, starting our school years, of course, is still at this point is starting on August the 24th through May 27th. And all the information that we give you, of course, many things that we have started planning this year due to the fact that information that we receive from TEA or, of course, from our governor or from local authorities, at times things do change. So I do ask that you please make sure that you constantly keep an eye on our web pages for any changes that may occur for different things that may be happening within the district, because we need to adhere to what we're being told to by our local authorities and our state authorities. Okay, so what has been decided at this point is that the first 4 weeks of school will be remote. So students will stay home for the first 4 weeks of school, and we will be doing all remote learning. Okay, now we will have a distribution day. I know some of you have already heard that high school has started on their part. We are still trying to make some arrangements with certain items which we need to get ready. Excuse me for a second. Okay, I apologize. Okay, so we were at, going back, we have the 4 weeks, as I said, that it's gonna be remote, totally remote. And so what we're looking at is a distribution day in order to be able to pass out our devices. On that same day, our plans are to pass out the schedules for the student so that you can come up, and also any passwords that they need in order to be able to log on to any of the applications and things like that. So at this point, I will be honest, we have not set a selected day. We are looking at some point next week, but we want to make sure that we're a little bit more set with the items and things that we need to give out before we give that date. I do ask that you please just keep an eye on our website, but we will also send out a messenger through school messenger just to remind you as to the day that we will start doing that. So we are shooting for next week. We're just not quite sure on that date as of yet. Okay. So the things that we will be giving out are Chromebooks to the students, hotspots, and then all of our 8th graders will receive calculators. Those items will be assigned to them, and they will be responsible for them. Okay, especially the calculators, because those are used by our 8th graders, especially when it comes to end of the year testing with STAR. At this point, STAR testing, the only thing that has changed from in years past is our 8th graders have to take reading and math, have to pass it in order to be promoted on to the next grade. And if they don't take it the first time, they have 2 more opportunities. This year, all STAR tests will only be given 1 time. So our writing is scheduled for the month of April. All other tests have been scheduled through the month of May. We will, once school starts, get a calendar out to you so that you'll know the days that will be occurring. There is no more second assessment and third assessment for our 8th graders, at least for this year. But that's the only change that has been made. Other than that, students will still at this point be taking all tests. So therefore, we need to make sure that we are continuing with what we're doing with our students for this school year. Now, as far as last year, things were a little bit, as we ended the year, were a little bit different. We were in a rush to get things ready. We were trying to do the remote. So we were doing things, and I'll say it kind of off the cuff, trying to get things done. This year, it's going to be a little bit different as far as how we're going to be handling the daily routine of what a child has to do. Okay, so I think I'm jumping the gun a little bit, so let me back up. So students that do not have reception as far as the devices, or they're not working, we will have packets for those students that they can come and pick up. Once again, those may be given out either on that day, or if we have to make an appointment with parents, and then we'll have them come by and pick up a packet. Now, if we have students that do not have reception and there's a real need for that, then we can make arrangements that they come by to the school to where they could use our internet. However, it will not be like a teacher to student. It will just be that they would be here to come and use our reception. They would still have to do everything Zoom, just like everybody else is doing, and all other students. So that is going to be a discussion I'll have with any parents that fall under that concern. Okay. Now, The remote school day. What are we talking about when we start talking about the remote school day? Students will follow their class schedule. So if I give them a schedule, they have first period math, second for a block, and then they have English or social, whatever their schedule is through the day, that child will be given that schedule, and on the first day of school, they will be expected to come on during that time period to go ahead and meet with their teacher. And they will have to come in, and we will be taking attendance by period. So our students will basically be going to school. It will be a regular school day. They will follow their schedule throughout the period of the day, okay? They will be expected to attend their classes through Google Classroom. The teachers will be coming on, introducing the lessons, the model review, and assignment. Now, at that point, let's say, for instance, we have math right now that is scheduled for about 90 minutes. Okay, the teacher may come on. The teacher will introduce the lesson, go through examples, have discussion. Once they've completed that, if a child is capable, if they think, okay, I can do the work, teacher has explained it enough, they can go ahead and log off, get off, and they can work on their assignment. Okay, those students that still need help can stay on, and the teacher will continue to work with them. Now, since it is like an hour or 90-minute class, if that other student who logged off got off and they started working on their own and, oh man, I'm starting to have some problems, as long as the period is still on, they can log back on and the teacher can work with them still. But they've got to be ready that when that class period ends, they need to be ready for the next class period. Because as I said, they will follow their schedule. We will also be coming up, we will put out a schedule for tutorials or when teachers are available to go ahead, and if a child has problems later, that they can jump on and they can get additional help from any of their teachers. It may not necessarily be their teacher. We will scatter all of our teachers to have opportunities for kids to go ahead and log on if they need to. Students will be expected to check into all of their classes. If they do not check in, it is considered an absence. And I do try to remind parents that once we get to this point, absences are by periods. In other words, if you come till 10 o'clock and then leave, you're not considered present for the whole day. Students have to check in for all of their classes throughout the period of the day, okay? Students will also be expected to be checking their emails because they will be assigned an email in which they will log on. Teachers may be sending information or announcements out. So we do expect the students, I know throughout the day they have classes, but we do want them in the morning, probably beforehand, to get on and check and see if there's anything. When the day ends, to go ahead and check again in case teachers sent. And it would probably even be beneficial in the evening if they get an opportunity, log on and just make sure they haven't received anything from their teachers as far as anything like that. Okay. Let me see. Classes will be what we call either synchronous or asynchronous. Okay. These are terms that have been given to us now. And basically synchronous means that the teacher will be live with the student. So most of our synchronous classes are going to be all our content area classes, which are going to be the math, the ELA, the science, the social studies. And then there are going to be a couple of our CATE classes, which will be synchronous also. Basically what that means, the child will come on at the time and that teacher will be live with them and go over the lessons. Now we are also going to have what we call asynchronous. Asynchronous is going to be, let's say your child has PE. Okay, when they come on during that set time for the PE class, I have some more parents trying to come in. The asynchronous, basically, let's say PE. We have our coaches that are going to be doing some videos, some activities and things that are going to be expected of them to do. And I'm just saying PE. It could be any of the other electives that we have, such as band and whatnot. Students will still be expected to log on at that time. There may be a video they watch that the teacher has put together. There will be a method in which the child will go in and they'll be able to click their attendance that they came in to do that, so that will give them credit for that period. It may not be a long video, it may not be very, but at least they're following through with their schedule, okay? So that we can make sure that gets taken care of. Assignments will be given, of course, and they will be graded, and we expect students to make sure that they turn those grades into them, please. Okay, and we need to do that within a timely manner with all possible. And we're going to get a little bit more because at one point we were. Hey! I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. I apologize. Can we just be careful? Everybody's on mute because I'm getting background feedback. Okay. Thank you. What we want to do is make sure, we were told at first that basically that the grades had to be turned in by the end of the day in order for the child to be present. Right now, we're being told that that may change to where as long as the child gets the work in with the next few days, then we're okay with that. But that's information that we're getting from TEA. As it comes to us, we will provide that information to our teachers review to make sure that we're doing that in the best interest of the child and trying to make sure that we work with parents and stuff. I know this is going to be a difficult thing that we're having to work with. It's different. It's just totally different from what we've done in education overall. And so we're going to try to do the best to work with our kids as far as that is trying to make sure we get everything done for them as we go along. Some of this I just ask of you that as we go along, we may have to make changes, adjustments, because it's all new to us. Okay, and as I said, this is going to be different from how we handled it in the spring as to how we're doing it now. Let me see. If a student does not attend the video classes, they will be counted absent. So attendance requirements are still in place. So we need to make sure that the students are showing up. As I said, attendance will be taken by period. Okay. Now, once we return to campus, once the remote learning has ended and students return to campus, basically they will follow their schedule that they've been given. That schedule will be given to them. They will come to campus and follow that basic schedule. Some parents may make the determination that they do not want their child to return to school. They want to keep them remote. And there'll be some things we're going to do there that's going to be a little bit different than the remote that we're doing now. Where we're thinking is there is a possibility right now, the way we're still discussing some of this is if a child is remote, they may be off by one day, because what may have to happen is we will have to video record teachers in the classroom, and then those will be uploaded so that students can view those in order to do their assignments. So they may be off by one day. That is one of the ideas of us that we're looking at to do that. Trying to do live each classroom would be very difficult, but that's also something that we're looking into. But as I said, that might be a difficult procedure to do as the other kids come back to the campus, because the teachers would have to be doing dual activities at the same time. So we're working on that, but that will be forthcoming, and we will talk to those parents eventually who end up making the decision to go ahead and keep their students at home once that time comes around. Okay. Let me go ahead and stop it there. And I'm going to stop for a second because I'm going to share another. Here. Let's change papers real quick. Okay. Christy, what can y'all see?
The safety handbook.
It's up? The safety handbook is up?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the safety handbook. This is what I told you mirrors the district safety handbook. And so this is what we kind of have in place at this point. Understand this is still, we're still in progress with some of this. So we are still making some changes to this as we go along, but this is the basic plan that we have in place right now. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to read this verbatim to you. I'm going to go ahead and hit the highlights. Once we have completed this, though, it will be put up so that you can acquire a copy of it. So basically what it states here is this document is established for WP Green. It's basically in reconstituting the traditional face-to-face classroom instruction, disinfecting campuses, ensuring the safety of students, faculty, staff, and visitors following the COVID-19 pandemic response. So this is what has been put into place. Now, the document is basically to look at 4 items, which is 1, to provide notice requirements for parental and public notices. 2, to prevent practices to prevent the virus from entering the school. 3, to respond, practices to respond to a lab confirmed case in the school. And 4, to mitigate, practices to mitigate the likelihood of COVID-19 spread inside the school. Okay, so we have basically developed this plan for on-campus activities and for instruction. I am, of course, the designated person, point of contact should you have questions having to do with any of this. And anything as far as messages, when it comes to that, will go through our school messenger and through the district webpage. Okay. Okay, start looking at prevention. Protocol for staff entry. And the first thing we tell you is there is protocol set for any of the employees coming on campus. This goes from my professional staff to my support staff to custodians to the people working in the child and nutrition. And basically there's steps that we have to follow before entering the campus. And this is, of course, put into place. Our people will have to follow a protocol of certain questions that they need to ask themselves before coming on campus. Also, we'll be taking temperatures of every employee who comes on campus beforehand. Should there be any concerns with that? And if you take a look here, if an employee has a temperature of 100 degrees or higher, or any other indicators as listed on the questionnaire, they will be sent home immediately and instructed to promptly contact their doctor. The Feria ISD administration will follow up with the employee who is sent home and follow up for guidelines to return to work. Okay, so we do have protocol for all of our personnel who are coming on campus. Now, protocol for students who are entering the school. All students will be required to self-screen or have their parent guardian screen them for signs or symptoms of COVID-19. What we're asking is parents should be basically looking at this list and asking themselves these questions before their child ever comes on campus, okay? Now, once they come to campus, there are things that we're gonna have in place, and I'll go through that in just a second. But if you take a look at, it's basically, has my child taken any fever, pain reducing medication such as Tylenol? And I'm gonna go in the past 24 hours, yes or no. Does my child have any of the following signs or symptoms? And like I said, I don't wanna read them all to you. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it, but it is here. Any of these items here, along through here. Has my child been in close contact within 6 feet for 15 minutes while not wearing a mask to anyone with a lab confirmed COVID-19 result in the past 14 days? Yes or no? Has my child had positive lab confirmed COVID result in the past 14 days? If you have a yes response to any of these questions, your child should stay home and you should contact the school nurse. Students will not be able to report to school or entry of any district building or facility until cleared by the nurse. Now, we're not saying that ultimately the nurse, when she talks to you, it'll be probably telling you to go through steps of making sure you're contacting your doctor or whatnot, okay? But this is talking about us here. So any student who themselves either has a lab confirmed COVID result, experiences symptoms of COVID, must have over the phone screening done by the school nurse to determine if a student meets conditions for campus reentry. So our campus nurse will have a lot of responsibility as far as touching base with the parent, talking to the parent, going over several things before that child would be able to return on our campus, okay? And it talks about here the different things that they have to meet. At least 14 days have passed and symptoms have appeared. At least 3 days or 72 hours have passed since recovery with resolution of fever. The student has improvement in symptoms. Students must obtain a medical professional's note clearing the student to return to school. Now, in the case that the student has symptoms of COVID, is not evaluated by a medical professional or tested, the student is assumed to have COVID. Once again, they have to be gone at least 14 days of not symptoms appearing, at least 3 days, once again, and the student has improvement in symptoms. And once again, they will still have to contact our nurse and speak to them before they're allowed back on campus. If the student has symptoms of COVID and wants to return to school before completing the above conditions, the student must either obtain a medical professional's note clearing the student for return based on an alternative diagnosis, or receive 2 separate confirmations at least 24 hours apart that they are lab negative for COVID-19 at an approved COVID testing location. And that information would have to be provided to the nurse. And then we do go ahead and provide the nurses there, Ms. Ramirez, who she is on the screen somewhere, and our number here to the school in case you need to contact her. Okay, so let's get into, here we go. how do students get back to campus? How do they come on? For students that are dropped off, for those of you that have been my 8th grade parents, you know that the drop-off is here in the front. And I'm going to be very honest, you know how our traffic is. So what I'm going to tell you is anticipation of traffic those first few days, it is going to get probably a little hairy. And I'll explain why when I talk about this. Staff will meet, students who are dropped off, staff will meet them at the drop-off in front of the school to monitor social distancing. Students will be dropped off at the designated area at the front of the school to allow for social. I think that one twice. I need to take that off. Sorry, we'll make a note there. A staff member will be available at the identified drop-off pickup location to verify that the parent has completed the self-check form while the student is in the vehicle. We're not going to make anybody sign anything off. We're going to make sure, though, that you have talked to your child and evaluated the list of things that we're saying you need to look at before letting them come on, and we're going to ask you that. The student temperature will be checked as they exit the vehicle. So I'm going to have probably a couple of personnel in the front here. Cars are going to pull up. The child will get off the vehicle and stand next to the vehicle. The car cannot leave. The car cannot leave the area until my employee comes up, checks temperature, talks to the parent. Once they've okayed that or checked that off, then the child will be able to enter the campus. So that is going to slow up traffic as students come onto campus. I'm just telling you that right now. That will take some time, but we have to do it that way, because if I have a child get down and we check temperature and the parent leaves and then the child does have a temperature, now we're trying to contact parents. So once again, that will be a change that parents, when you drop off, you cannot leave until your child has been okayed. Students who walk to school, we will have a personnel in a separate area for my walkers who are coming on. We will check those students once again as they come on, and we'll be checking their temperature also before they can come on. If they come on and they have a temperature, they will be moved into a holding area until we can get a hold of parents and speak with them about their child. Students who ride the bus, there are some changes to this for those of you who have students who come on the bus. There's going to be designated seats on the buses. Seats will be assigned to keep families together. So if you have siblings, they will let them sit together. However, others will be, as best they can, separated in the bus. Temperatures will be taken as the students enter the bus. If the student's temperature is high, of course, you're not going to allow them on. Screenings will be conducted when students are picked up in the morning. The questionnaire from CDC on the symptoms will be posted on the bus so that parents are familiar with that. Students will use hand sanitizers. There will be hand sanitizers on the bus so that they can use when they get on and get off the bus. Driver monitor will dismiss students one at a time so that the students come off the bus in an orderly manner and they're not on top of one another. Now, here's where things have changed for bus riders. For all bus pickups, parents have to be present with their child until their child is picked up. And the reason for that is if a child comes and their temperature is high, that child will not be allowed on the bus and they will have to return home. But what we don't want is a child or a younger sibling, a child to come, no adult supervision, and we find out they have a temperature. Now there's nobody at home with the child. So a parent or I guess an uncle or grandma, whatever relative of adult age will have to be present with the child when getting on the bus, okay? If the student displays symptoms or has fever, they will not be allowed on the bus, okay? Protocol for visitors entering the school, excluding parent drop-off and pickup. Before visitors are allowed on campus, W Green will screen all visitors to determine if they have COVID. I'm not gonna go through the list, you know that. WB Green Junior High will restrict visits in schools to only those essential to school operations. We will not be probably bringing in presenters or anything like that. It'll just be our personnel here. When possible, parent contacts will be made via telephone or teleconference meetings. When we have meetings such as 504s, ARDs, or anything like that, we are going to attempt to make it through all teleconference or phone rather than having people come onto campus. We will limit it very strictly as we can. At no time will visitors be permitted to interact with students. Visitors will remain in the front waiting area at the campus. And that may be, if those of you are familiar with my campus, we have a little hall area before you even come to the office. There may be a holding. We are in the process of also looking at the possibility, and we use this, and we're looking at it, as a curbside, where we may have stations out there where you come up, you'll call in, such as if you're picking up somebody and then a student, and then we'll have you come in and sign them out once the child is actually in the office and have you wait outside so that we do not have a lot of interaction of people having to come in and out of the office area, okay? All parent meetings will be scheduled using Zoom or phone calls unless otherwise not avoidable. If a face-to-face meeting is needed because there's no other way, then we will go ahead and we will work something out that way, okay? Observations of classrooms will not be permitted. Now, for the 2021 school year, and I need parents to really be aware of this because I know we do have parents that did this with me, and I know it happens at other campuses, but neither breakfast nor lunch will not be allowed to be dropped off for students, okay? If you want your child to eat lunch or bring lunch, they can bring it in the morning. If they forget it, then they will have to eat lunch in the cafeteria. We will not be bringing lunches in or having people dropping off food or anything like that. Actually, I'll get into it a little further. There will be no drop-offs of any kind unless it's an emergency or we're dealing with things such as medication. Dropping off items is not going to be permitted. So students need to be very mindful of that as to making sure that they're not forgetting different things. But once again, I'll get into that a little bit further down. But right here, the focus is about food, okay? They need to make sure that they're bringing theirs. Identifying possible COVID cases on campus will immediately separate students who show COVID symptoms while at school until the student can be picked up by a parent or guardian. Green Junior High will clean the areas by the individual who shows COVID symptoms while at school as soon as feasible. Students who report feeling feverish should be given an immediate temperature check to determine if they're symptomatic for COVID-19, okay? And this is a lot of stuff that my personnel will be doing on campus and whatnot, should a child tend to start getting or feeling ill while on campus. Continuing with additional preventative practices, when at school, students will be required to follow these guidelines. They will have to be wearing masks. All students will be required to wear masks unless there is a medical type condition and we have something from the doctor. And then there are students due to social emotional needs that we would have to look at on a one-to-one basis, okay? Students shall maintain social distancing of at least 6 feet from one another when possible, okay? I'm gonna tell you, probably one of the biggest concerns that we have is gonna be when we switch classes. We can only do so much at that point. We will talk to students. We will talk to them about they themselves keeping their personal distance, and we will make all attempts. But once again, our hallways are only so big and we're having to move our students from classes to classes. One of the things that we are gonna make an attempt to do is we are going to speak to our students about dividing the hallway and staying to the right of the hallway. Usually when they walk, they just walk in groups. They will have to stay to the right, and that right, they will be going in one direction only. So these are things that we will have to talk to our students. We will have our teachers talk to them through Zoom before they ever come back on campus, and then we will talk to them again once they return to campus concerning some of these practices that we will have to follow through with. Okay, students will wash their hands and or use hand sanitizers throughout their time in the building. We have added more hand sanitizers into the classrooms, in the hallways, and in different locations to make sure that there are plenty of places that we're doing that. It will be, of course, our job here to making sure that we keep those filled and not run out of any of the sanitizer that we're putting out. Students shall not shake hands, touch, or hug one another's. And I understand we're at the junior high, and I know how our students are, but this is something that I really need my parents to speak to them about. I know we have, and I've had kids in the past, whether it's my cousin, I understand that, but it's not going to be allowed while we're here. We need to keep the distancing. We need to make sure that we're very careful because we do not want anything to have to occur while on campus. Water fountains, if some of you have seen already, it's been posted. We are not, all our water fountains will be turned off. We are going to water bottle fillers. So I'm advising my parents to make sure that you acquire a water bottle for your child so that they have one. I would even tell you to make sure that it's filled at home so that we're not having to have kids get in line to fill their water bottles here. You know, do that, have it ready, and so that when they're here. Now, of course, we will be changing some of the water fountains to the water bottle fillers so that if necessary, that the students can refill their bottles while they're here. But I ask once again that you have one or that they bring one of those to school, okay? We will not have vending machines or snack bars available. We will not be doing any of that. We'll be assigning certain times in which they can fill their water bottles. Water fill stations will be sanitized by our personnel throughout the day, making sure that we're keeping that sanitized for our students that are using those. We will have the sanitation procedures. Classrooms will, as I say, be sanitized. We're going to be doing it in between classes, and then when teachers are out for meetings, we'll have our people going through and taking care of that. Our bathrooms will be sanitized throughout the period of the day, at least 3 times. We're looking into, they're not yet, but we're looking into the touchless faucets for sinks. We're looking at building dividers between the sinks. And then we're looking at automatic toilets. Right now, I know there's some work being done on one set of bathrooms on my campus, and we're looking into all of that right now. We have a little bit of time, since we will be remote, for our maintenance people to be working on all of that on our campus. Handles and other high-touch areas will be clean. Hand sanitizer is available, as I said, in each of the classrooms and entryways throughout my campus. Once again, we do stress that you have all school supplies for your child. We do not want any students sharing any type of supplies for the simple fact of once again, not wanting to pass any type of germs or anything like that. I said again, I guess I'd already jumped there. In an effort to reduce congestion in hallways, will be divided in half. Students will be expected to remain on the right side of the line in a single file in order to maintain distance. Signage on floors and around campus will assist in maintaining this, and we will have our staff members monitoring that in the hallways between classes. All facilities will remain closed to the general public. I know we've had in the past Girl Scouts and 4-H using our facilities for stuff. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to allow that to occur this year. It will be closed just because we don't have to want to take the extra time to be cleaning after them coming in and whatnot. The Feria ISD will not permit the renting or use of facilities for non-district related events. And once again, this is something else. Until further notice, all meetings for clubs and organizations on our campus will be postponed. We're not going to be doing that. Students won't be meeting for anything like that at this point. As we go along and things change, there's a possibility we will make changes to that. Okay? Respond. Practices to respond to a lab confirmed case in the school. Required actions. So basically, if an individual has been in school, is lab confirmed to have COVID, W. Green Jr. must notify the Cameron County Health Department in accordance with, of course, all laws and regulations that we need to meet. W. Green will close off areas that are heavily used by individuals lab confirmed case, student, teacher, staff areas until the non-porous surfaces in those areas can be disinfected, unless more than 3 days have already passed since that person was on campus. Consistent with school notification requirements for other communicable diseases and consistent with the legal confidentiality requirements, WB Green School will notify all teachers, staff, and families of all students in a school if a lab confirmed COVID case is identified among the students, teachers, or staff who participate on any on-campus activities. We will not give you the name of the student. I mean, within the community, I mean, you probably would find out, but we will let you know there was a case. We'll let you know where, and then that information will go out once again, whether through a district webpage or the school messenger that we have. Okay. Mitigate. Practice to mitigate the likelihood of COVID spread in the school. So what are some of the things that we're doing? And some of this is repetitious, and I apologize for that, but because it applies to different areas, we do have to put it. Once again, we talked about the hand sanitizers at the entrances. We're encouraging the washing their hands and everything as they come on campus, making sure they're washing them throughout the day when they go to the restroom after eating and whatnot. The school review the beginning of the school year, good hand washing techniques. We are going to talk to our kids about that. Actually, there will also be probably some in-service with our teachers on the correct way to do that with everyone, and then that will be passed on to our students. Okay, student, teachers, and staff will be encouraged to cover coughs and sneezes with tissue. Once again, these are all the procedures and stuff that we're looking at that we're needing to in-service and inform our students about. We'll schedule frequent cleaning practices, as I talked about earlier, different areas that we're going to be cleaning and make sure that we're cleaning and disinfecting, areas that mainly that are being touched at different times, the desks and whatnot. We're looking at providing some cleaning products to our teachers because unfortunately between periods, we'll be looking at having to clean different areas there before the next group of students come in. It is a number of things that we're having to do, but we will follow through with this. WB Green will ensure that the products are stored safely. Once again, since we're providing some of this to our teachers, they will have to be locked up in between when they're using them, then they bring them out to use them. Whenever possible, we will be opening, that's one thing that will be put in place, opening windows and doors throughout the period of the day, just to get circulation from outside, besides the fact that we do have air conditioning units, just to get kind of some fresh air coming into the school. On the first day a student attends campus, as I said, we will provide instruction on the appropriate hygiene and the practices that they need to do. Let me see. For the purpose of the handbook, masks include non-medical. We will be providing masks and coverings for our students if they need them. If parents provide them, then that's perfectly fine. I mean, they can bring their own, but we will have some here in case a child, something happens to theirs, they drop it, they get it dirty, then we will provide them with another one in case. And we will also have face shields available, and that is actually for our staff also. Okay. WB Junior High School is required to comply with the governor's executive order regarding the wearing of face masks. So it's not necessarily just the district, it is also through what we're being told through the state. WB Junior High will require the use of masks or face shields for all staff, students, and visitors coming on campus. If we have a visitor come on and they do not have one, we will not let them enter the premises, okay? It may be impractical for students to wear masks or face shields while participating in some non-UIL athletic or extracurricular activities. When it's impractical for students to wear masks or face shields, WB Region will require students, teachers, and staff to wear masks or face shields when entering and exiting facilities and practice areas when not actively engaging in those activities. And we'll talk a little bit about UIL in a moment. WB Junior High will allow students who are actively exercising to remove masks or face shields as long as they maintain their distancing from one another. However, WB will require students and teachers to wear masks or face shields as they arrange themselves in positions that allow them for the safety. Okay? Student teacher groupings. We are going to, there will not be, once again to say, I am going to ask again if we could just be careful and keep our, put our computers on phones on mute, because we're getting a lot of background, okay? Thank y'all. Once again, we're encouraging staying away. We are going to try to, in the classroom, give space between desks, but understand, once I start getting my students back, and once we start getting regular class sizes, there is not a whole lot that we can do about that at that point. All we can do is continue to focus on the washing of the hands, making sure the kids are using their masks. Once all of my kids come back, there's no way to have in every classroom 6 feet apart. Now, if it allows it and there's smaller classes, then we will do that. But as they come and as more students come, we will do as best we can in each of the classrooms, okay? Let me see. So I'm continuing again. Once again, I hate that I'm having to read every single thing to you, but we'll get into that. Let me jump past this. This is once again just about cleaning and what we're going to do. As far as celebrations, there will be no in-class parties. I know that there is the cupcake law, but because of where we're at right now, we will not permit any in-class parties, distribution of goodie bags, or permit sharing of any items between students. I know kids love to share chips and this and that. None of that can occur. I know we would give goodie bags to kids when we had football and different things, or volleyball. They had their buddies. That will not be allowed. None of that can be brought to school. And not even if it's being handed, especially if it's being handed from one child to another. If I know some of that happens, but if that needs to occur, it'll have to happen off of school grounds and not here. Here's where we get into the other part that's very important. Due to health concerns, no deliveries will be accepted. This includes, but is not limited to, drinks, band instruments. If they forget their band instrument at home that day, you cannot bring it up. They'll just have to wait till the next day. Cell phones, homework, food, clothing, books, devices, etc. There will be no exceptions to this other than the next one, which is parents who need to deliver medication to the school nurse must call ahead and schedule a time to deliver the medical items or equipment to the school. Okay, so your children are going to have to be very vigilant about making sure that they're bringing what they need to school when they come in the morning. Okay. School facilities, once again, it's just going back over the cleaning and whatnot. I don't want to read all of that to you and what we'll be doing. And we will be following, of course, CDC recommendations and what we're using and trying to keep furniture and rooms and bathrooms and all of that clean throughout the year. We will be undergoing several cleaning and sanitizing protocols daily, weekly, and monthly, using certain approved antimicrobial products with residual technologies. Each campus is being assigned or given a portable electrostatic disinfecting mist device. It's kind of a backpack with like a tube and a gun where they go into the classroom or wherever, they spray it down. It will kind of a mist will go into the furniture and stuff, and with about 10 seconds, it all dries up. But it's a quick way to go through and kind of clean in certain areas. So we will be provided one of those that our personnel will be using on campus as we clean. School classrooms, once again, over the summer, we will continue to clean and do whatever we need to. That's a little ways off, but we are posting that in the information there. Throughout the school year, we'll undergo cleaning. Once again, that's just a repetition. As far as transportation, I've kind of already gone through that. We will continue to clean buses in the mornings after the kids get off once again. And once again, this just talks about the summer and how we'll be cleaning items. If you allow me to, I'm going to kind of skip over that. Once again, just at the bus stop, we ask that they stay to 6 feet away from one another, even when waiting with their parents, and making sure that they're wearing their face coverings as they wait for the bus. They need to keep them on when they're on the buses, and once again, try to stay separated or to their assigned seats while they're on the bus. And bus routes may be adjusted, so I do ask for your patience, those of you that have children on the bus, as we go. And of course, at the bus barn and through our child and nutrition services, we will talk about that now. Lunches, our lunches will be in the cafeteria. We will be doing the in-cafeteria model. Now, those of you that are familiar with my campus, I do not have a very large cafeteria. What we are doing is we are looking at changing up. We will not be using the current tables and booths that we use in my cafeteria. We are going to be going to probably tables. We'll be looking at 6-foot tables, so we're only a couple of students per table. And we are also going to be setting up in one of my gyms. So food will be served in the cafeteria and in a gym setting so that we can try to seat as many students as possible, so that once they go in to sit down and eat, they will more than likely remain there during their lunch period. And then once they're done, they will report back to class. We will not be taking them outside to play and this and that. We have too many students at one time, and trying to keep them separated at that point would be too much of a task. So once again, we will be making arrangements to try to have all students seated to eat. They'll remain there until they're done, and then they will exit, and we'll do it in a certain fashion to get students back to class. Okay. Once again, as far as our food service, this just talks about that they will be using the recommended coverings. They will be doing the cleaning as they need to. Another important thing for you to know is we will not be having any type of assemblies at this time because we cannot bring the students together like that. Once again, we will continue to do what we need to as far as making sure that we are meeting all the regulations as masks and this and whatnot. Okay, UIL. UIL is just a whole other situation here. UIL right now, all UIL activities for us are at a standstill. There is conversation about UIL and whether or not that is going to happen. What I do ask parents to at this point is, I know I have out in the community people saying, why can't we just make the decision? What are we going to do? This, that, and the other. What I want parents to understand is it's not just the Feria ISD decision. Even once we come to a decision as to what we're going to do within our district after looking at situations of safety of our students, we still have to wait for decisions by other districts who we will be competing with. So it's in steps at this point. Some people, once again, aren't starting school even when we're looking at starting. So it's trying to come to a consensus as to what we're going to do. I'm not going to tell you that sports is completely out. The one piece of information that I will tell you is junior high sports does not have to follow the same criteria with a schedule as high school, because high school has playoffs and whatnot. We do not. So right now that is a discussion. I cannot tell you right now for sure that it is what is going to happen. That is still a discussion happening with our AD, our superintendent, and of course with other districts as to where that's going to stand. So as soon as we find some of that out, we will. Now, the one thing is, and we'll get into it also, is making sure that if your child will be participating, that they make sure that they have a physical. And I know that may be a concern right now too, because the places maybe not wanting to provide physicals, but we will be receiving more information, I think, from our athletic director as we go along on that, as to how we can do that. If you can get one from your own physician, then that would be great. Your child is ahead of the game. What I do need to let you know is those of you students that already had a physical from years past, from last year, that physical will be good for one more year. Unless that student has certain medical conditions that they will have to look at it again, okay, and maybe have to have another one. But if that's a situation, that may have to be a conversation that you would have with the coach. I ask that you please just keep an eye on the Facebook, because I know our athletic department has been putting out information on that. So I ask that you make sure that you look at that. So going into UIL, once again, the safety of it, the things that they're going to be doing, there's still guidelines which they need to follow and that they will have to follow. We're still looking at the face covering part, but of course, once you get into the certain different, just lost my train of thought there. Sports, excuse me, the different sports, then, you know, there will not be face masks. So that is a decision that as a parent, you will have to decide whether you want to allow your child to partake in that, should that happen, okay? I don't want to read all the UIL, and I apologize to that. It's quite a bit. If you have certain questions to that, I'll be more than happy to answer those for you. But once again, there's a lot of information on it. Just once again, talking about the safety of it, the face shields that may be used. That's dependent on the school, whether they're able to acquire those or get those. It's talking about, I'm going to go through a little bit. Of course, the screening. There will be screening should we. Some districts have talked about, yes, maybe having UL events, but not having fans. There is some where they talk about, yes, have fans, but once again, if you do have fans, they are still going to have to, just like we do here, is do screening before they come in, and there would probably be separation in the stands for fans that were to come in. Once again, that's all stuff that has not occurred yet. Some of this is still up in the air as to what will end up happening because of discussions with other districts. Okay. And it goes through, once again, if there's possible people that are infected, then there's certain steps, once again, that they would completely go through. Questions would be asked, once again, of students before they play. Right now, once again, our band also, we haven't come to a consensus on that, but more than likely, you know, a lot of that is going to be on hold until we get more information as to that, especially competitions and stuff like that. Okay. And I think we're getting, like I said, all of this is dealing with UIL. It's specific to whatever, but I think what I'm going to do is give you an opportunity. I'm not going to get into concession because more than likely we won't have concessions and stuff like that. And it just goes into the training that is going to be given to our staff and whatnot concerning any questions having to do with UIL events. Okay, we come to that point. Boy, that was a mouthful. I'm going to open up to questions at this point. I'm going to ask my person, are there any questions there that we need to answer that haven't been answered?
No, I think we answered them all. A couple of parents had to log off to go to the high school meeting.
Okay. There are some questions.
Okay. Okay. Can you share them with me?
Miss Starlin wanted to know, will there be sports? Will there be an option to homeschool, but only go to school for athletics?
Okay, on that question, right now, that is still up for discussion. And I believe my understanding is that a discussion that will have to happen with our superintendent AD, and there possibly at some point that would go to a decision that would have to go to the board. So right now, my understanding is there is no answer to that at this point. But we will inform you as soon as we find out.
She also asked if, and I'm not too sure if you touched base on, I think you did, if a teacher becomes lab confirmed positive, will their classes, students have to be quarantined?
It depends on the situation and when it occurs. Like I said, just like a child, if that teacher were to be, or we were to find out, we would have to see when, and then we would have to be taking a look at contacting those parents when it happened. Of course, the parents themselves would have the right to, you know, I would check with their family doctor, do what they need to follow through with testing. Mm-hmm. But what we would have to do is make contact specifically with those parents who were in contact with that teacher, should that happen. I don't know if that was enough of an answer to that.
And then they also asked, Mrs. Starlin also asked if there is no athletics, will all students just be out into PE, or will there also be a Zoom for athletics in there?
No, we will leave the athletic period, and there is going to be Zooming. Every class will have a Zoom for those first 4 weeks. There may be something assigned to them. It could be that the coaches are going to get videos on certain exercises or things they want them doing, just kind of trying to keep the students in shape before they come. It'll be up to the child, of course, to do it if they choose to at home and whatnot. Because I go again, we're not sure if that will happen. There is a possibility that some of these sports will occur. And once again, it's dependent on what happens within the community as far as, you know, should we come up with an immunization for this and all of this in, there could be sports in the spring. So the classes will remain until something happens. Okay. Anything else?
There was a parent asking where they can get this. I'm not sure if they meant UIL information or the information that you presented.
This, as soon as we make some, because there's some things there where, like I showed you there, where we had to put something twice. We just need to kind of clean it up. And once we clean it up, it will be posted on the website. It's my understanding. Later, once we get it to, if you would want a paper copy, we can maybe get some later on for those you might ask for them, maybe on the distribution day. Any other questions? Now, understand that if you don't ask a question, please feel free to call me here at the office. We will be here to answer any questions that you have. You know, I would like everybody to understand that we're trying to do this as best that we can for all of our kids. You know, that our concerns for safety are for our students, for my staff, and for everybody who is here. And what I need you all to understand too is we will make the changes as necessary as it's directed to us through the state, through local authorities, as I said. And as changes occur, we will just inform you and let you know. But I do need you to please, and I ask of you to please talk to your children, you know, about what they need to be doing. And I understand there may be situations where we're going to have to address students that may not follow rules or do things, but please talk to your kids about doing that and making sure that they're doing and taking care of themselves. Okay, that's one and foremost. And then we're going to do the best that we can here to ensure that we're doing things, keeping the campus as clean as we can, and making sure that we're following through what we need to. And at the same time, of course, providing your child with the best education that we can. Any changes and new things that come up, as a UIL things change, anything else changes, we will get that information to you. And right now, most of it is going to be going through the social media, the district webpage. But once we get everybody, we'll also be sending out, once again, as I said, through Messenger and things like that. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I truly, truly appreciate you Zooming with us. And like I said, please feel free at any point to give us a call here. And if you have any other questions that we can answer for you. Okay. Once again, thank you so much. This at this point ends our Zoom meeting. Thank you once again. Well, tell me.
There's one more question.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
If their child becomes COVID positive, do they just move to remote learning so they don't get counted absent? And that would.
Yes, I mean, if they go remote, if the child gets sick, I mean, basically what I would tell you is yes. I mean, once you let our nurse know and everything, I mean, we'll do some of that for the child. But of course, we're going to understand that if they get that, there's going to be, I'm sure, times that they're not going to feel up to doing that. But yeah, for their sake, it might work best for them if they did remote, so at least the child could get on for a certain amount of time so they don't get too far behind when they feel or they're capable or feel capable of doing the work. Yes, ma'am. We'll work with them. We'll work with them. Okay. Any other questions? I'll give it a second. Anybody wants to type anything else? Okay. If not, once again, thank you so much. I thank you for being on with us this morning. And once again, please feel free to give us a call if you have any other questions. All we ask at this time is y'all be safe, and we'll be seeing each other, I'm sure, real soon. Thank you so much. Y'all have a good day.